Uh, Cool friends. A little moon download. The recording is there for you to catch in the thereafters. Um, there's one key message about this new moon. This new moon, this is a lovely moon. This is a sweet moon. It's a nice moon. And I was searching beforehand for a phrase like, is this the calm before the storm or the peace before the war or what is it? I was like, I actually didn't have enough time to really think about and come up with it, but this is the sweetness before the spicy. And I'm just talking astrologically. So, this is a new moon junction, obviously followed by a full moon. And at that next full moon junction, we have the first of an eclipse series. And so eclipses are volatile, shake it up, cut in, cut out. Things can eclipse in also. So let's not think, oh no, it's only stuff leaving me or who knows what's going to be cut out. No, no, no. Things can also be cut in. So, do stay a bit flexible. Also, eclipse portals are like 6 months in either direction. So I started feeling this eclipse portal in like November. And because I'm studying astrology, because I'm like tuned into, so it's a little bit more exacting. I was like, I can literally feel the resonance of March and this eclipse season right now. And I mean stuff clipped in and stuff clipped out. And the whole point around that is, oh, if something's clipping out, let it go. It's already been slated to go down to waste management level, like in the space station. It's gone. You can't hang on to it. So if you try to hang on to it, you're gonna get dragged around. You could get a little battered. So this is our sweetness before the spicy. There's a little bit more in the spicy. I'll say some of that, but like let's feel out the sweet for a second. We are in sidereal Pisces, and just kidding. I think we're in sidereal Aquarius. Yeah, just kidding. So we're in sidereal Aquarius, and oh, we have really been enjoying some things in sidereal Aquarius, namely Saturn transit, which will come to a close in sidereal Aquarius March 29th. March 29th is the next eclipse in the series. So we'll have a 2 eclipse series. Sometimes we call this eclipse season. And that'll be at the full moon um, lunar eclipse on the 14th. And then on the 29th is the very spicy, the habaneros, the serranos, the Scotch bonnet, very flavorful Jamaican pepper and all the jerk seasoning, but it's spicy. That's coming up at the end of the month on the 29th, where we'll get this conjunction of new moon, solar eclipse, Saturn changing signs. Saturn changes signs every 2.5 years. And that's going to be a very significant movement. Where Saturn's going is going to feel very different from the last 5 years. Because where Saturn has been transiting for the last 5 years is in its own signs. So Saturn's been like jacked. And Saturn doesn't have muscles. That's Mars. Saturn is like emaciated, elder, bent over, seeing the ribs, because Saturn is severe, like this is sort of quality. So Saturn's been very happy whipping us all into shape over the last 5 years. So pause for a second. Yeah, that's right. Saturn in so Aquarius and then in Capricorn. That was the start of the pandemic. That was the that was that like severe contraction that happened then where everybody was sent home and you had to stay in your house for like 2 weeks to a year, depending on what country you lived in. You know, I mean, countries just closed the door. Morocco closed the door for a year. Australia closed the door for a year. Only crazy ass America was like, we're pretending it's not real. And like people still get COVID in America, like hardcore. People still die in America from COVID. It's really messed up. So when Saturn changes signs, Saturn's moving into sidereal Pisces. And Saturn is okay in sidereal Pisces. Like it's like I don't hate this, but it just gets a little dreamy, gets a little watery. That's really different from where we have just been for 5 years, which is severe and tasking, this thing and that thing. So it will be very interesting for you to see where Aquarius, sidereal Aquarius is in your chart. Both Capricorn and Aquarius in your birth chart. Because if there's been something for the last 2.5 years, let's just talk about the last 2.5. If there's been something that's been majorly constrictive, harsh. I know I've had some Saturn influences from sidereal Aquarius. Um, it's going to shift. Saturn's going to take his gaze elsewhere. Now, wherever sidereal Pisces is, that's who's going to enjoy the gaze for the next 2.5 years after that. If you look at the chart of this new moon, you'll see there's a stellium of sorts. There's a host of planets, like all in a little order from the moon to the sun to Saturn, Mercury, Venus, and Rahu. They're like pa 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 pa. So there's a lot right now in sidereal Aquarius, sidereal Pisces. And when we're talking about this language of conjunctions, we've got our zodiac. Conjunctions can happen across the zodiac, or conjunctions can happen when planets are in places together. And as these planets are all stacking up in Pisces, we are going to get some very interesting volatile changefulness as a result. So the period from what is the Saturn? So you have just Google the symbols. The Saturn symbol looks like a little four. Where's that Jupiter? I never remember the symbols. I always have to look them up. Um, when all this goes down, so the time frame is March 29 to end of May. That's when Saturn, Venus, Mercury will also be in that mix because of some Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. So they're going to be in this mix. And Rahu, the north node of the moon. Oh, it's going to be lively. Particularly this period, thinking about April 1 to 3. It's very, but we'll have time to name these things and talk about them and strategize around them very specifically. So very spicy time, volatile time, and it's all for our change and transformation. Where are we right now in this sweet, sweet moon? Name of the game is healing. It's all about healing. And when I say it's all about healing, I mean the whole like collective landscape, landscape, the whole like, what are we going to do about the rise of fascism, and the circus in America and, global war mongering and genocide. Like, what are we going to do about all of this? Right? Hear this simple message. You are supposed to be resting, dreaming, world building, healing. And if you have identified skills that you're acquiring those skills. Truly, it sounds like an oversimplified message, but it's the message. You're supposed to be building intuition. You're supposed to be enjoying the landscapes of the subconscious mind. Rest states obviously are, rave, fave, yoga nidra. That's the assignment right now. And there is healing abundance. I myself caught a fractal window and like my body is making incredible changes in impossible short periods of time. What I have styled for myself is a supportive environment to do that in. So do consider your supportive environment, the one that you are in charge of, that you can design, that you can control, if you will, influence, and that extended. Like, who else is in that mandala of support? Who and what else is supporting you in your transformation? Colors, sounds, rhythms, melodies, words, words that don't have meaning, like it's sound vibration, people, healers, educators, thought provokers. But I feel like thought provocation, be selective. If you're just really in your thought provocation to keep your mind busy, better to just like rest, meditate, chant, sound vibration, vocalization. The place where I'm staying right now, we're doing a lot of Sufi practices and Taoist chi cultivation practices. Both of those involve incredible amounts of vocalization practice. Literally like vowel sounds, repetitive chanting over and over and over again. And then third spaces emerge. So like make sound and take up space and let your healing be what leads right now. At this new moon, what seeds do you want to plant that relate to this assignment of healing, cultivating intuition, dreaming, and world building? World building is that like nexus of the dream work and the preparation work, the individual visioning and the co-visioning, this morphing individual and collective at the same time. It's such a sweet, sweet moon, a gentle moon. And a couple of weeks, 1 month, month and a half, 2 months from now, we might look back at this nice, sweet moon. This is the moon that is the start of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. So there's the dark moon. Um, and then when the first sliver can be seen, that's the official start, sliver of the moon. That's the official start of Ramadan. And the spirit of Ramadan is rest. Now, capitalist grind doesn't let every person who's participating in Ramadan rest. That's unfortunate. But a little teaching that we had today that the meaning of the word is ash. And I'm definitely brought to, my experiences in South Asia, and ash is really the burning of the karmas, not just like a little bit. No, they should be burnt all the way to white ash, and then smear that ash on the body. That like that's all this body is ash. Because if you come from a culture where they cremate, you know, yeah, you were something, and then the spirit moved on into the next adventure, into the Bordeaux, intermediary states in between. And then all this thing is gonna amount to is ash. So if we don't take these pauses, and I think, wow, a whole cultural collective pause, that's pretty damn powerful. Mhm. But what it's really about is like completion, the rest that's required to refocus into the spiritual, not a month where business is built and, again, you got to do what you got to do. Oh. And so, Muslim or no Muslim, Sufi or no Sufi, we can take an inspiration from this cultural practice of, just like we take inspiration from many different cultural practices, especially in the beauty way healing arts space. And when I'm saying take, I mean inspiration. Oh, yes, what is a season of rest? How do we style that? How could I invite that in? Other people all around the world are going to be contributing into that consciousness. You can tap into that too. Well, this is the fun of globalization, actually. Like, we can honor, not appropriate, and we can also like swim in these collective tides together. Um, this is not everybody's outlook, but this is my outlook. This is also the outlook of most of the people I hang out with. So, marhaba, welcome. Oh no. So, a sweet moon, a sweet moon. This, a moon to come home and connect. This. So I'm gonna just skim a little from my favorite reference, Bepin Bihari's Myths and Symbols for Vedic Astrology, where this moon is sitting in the nakshatra system, the lunar mansion system. It's a place called Shaktabhishek. And the whole thing is in Aquarius, in sidereal Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. And this lunar mansion, this nakshatra, is governed by Rahu. Rahu's all about karmic rectification. Rahu's basically extreme desire. And desire is what inspires us to create karmas. Karma means action, right? Action and the resulting consequences. So the rule there is always choose wisely. Mm-hmm. There's a real mystical character in Shaktabhishek. One of the symbols is the 1,000-petaled flower, which is associated with the crown chakra. And there's always a presiding deity. In this case, it's Varuna, the bestower of wisdom. Um, So the flower is a very auspicious symbol standing for the fruition of efforts. So, when we're earlier in the zodiac, right? When we're in Aries, Taurus, Gemini, it's a lot of like beginnings of things, Well, we're towards the end. Pisces is the absolute end in the circular zodiac, in the cycle. So themes here are going to be a lot about completion, finishing, flowering. Um, the flower represents the achievement of the purpose for which the manifestation came into existence. It represents the summit of creation. The thousand-petaled flower stands for the ultimate in the multi-dimensional evolutionary process. In human beings, it relates to the thousand-petaled lotus or crown chakra at the top of the head, and its blossoming indicates the full activation of Kundalini, the coiled Shakti feminine power resting in the spine, at the base of the spine. So at this stage, the latent powers in humans are fully realized, and the individual transcends the cycle of birth and death. One becomes a conscious cooperator with nature and assists the cosmic evolutionary process. As I was reading this, I was just reminded that Neptune is also in the mix when all those planets meet up, because I was like, right, there's an outer planet in this mix. Um, because this cosmic evolutionary process is also gonna be resonated for the whole collective, the whole human collective. Like it's like evolve or bust right now. I mean, that's coming right now. You got to prepare by making your healing structure. And that's like your life raft. Just doing a little skimming. Okay. There's like he always like sometimes he has chapters where the author puts in a lot of storytelling and things. Okay, so Shakta Abhishek pours forth mighty influences which can radically transform the life of a human being. Under such energy, the individual is fired with missionary zeal. They are willing to undergo heavy sacrifices for the fulfillment of their spiritual mission. Such individuals present future ideas to the world. They are not merely great thinkers, they are engaged in concretizing spiritual ideals in the outer world, which makes them very attractive in service projects. Varuna, the deity of Shakti Abhishek, is one of the earliest Vedic gods. He is vested with unlimited cosmic knowledge. This knowledge, however, is aimed at producing practical results. It's stated in the Vedas that he holds together humankind and the earth. He dwells over the world as its sovereign ruler. He is the God who made the golden sun to shine in heaven. It's one perspective. I personally enjoy when we have the same perspective, but from the perspective of the goddesses. So, Ma Durga, we can find some other thing, but here we go. So, the wind which resounds through the atmosphere of his breath. He witnesses truth and falsehood. He instructs the Rishi Vashishta in mysteries no ordinary man can comprehend. Varuna directs such mysterious powers of wisdom and compassion that the individual under Shakti Abhishek is radically transformed, and a new ray of light shines through them. Such a person is motivated by a new approach to life. Its problems have a different significance for them. They are able to perceive the deeper mysteries of life. So much transformative energy available right now, people. This is the message. Rahu, as the lord of this asterism, and Saturn, the ruling sign in which it is located, refers to the trials and the purification of the soul. Both planets act at a very deep level. Saturn annihilates everything personal, which is what the flowering process requires. On the purification of the outer encasement, the inner spirituality swells, which is the real blossoming of a human. Rahu, however, turns the individual consciousness to materiality and thereby arouses a sense of loneliness and depression. So, the acquisition of higher knowledge and comprehension of universal principles which Varuna bestows destroy the hold of the material sheaths and enable a new awakening. Such a process, which results in an expansion of consciousness, entails abundant austerity and sacrifice on the part of the individual for the good of others. The energy in souling, Shakta Abhishek, turns the individual outward for the good of humankind. If this transformation does not occur, the individual may explode and annihilate themselves. Dot. The difficulties of this asterism arrive from its secondary attribute of Tama. So its primary attribute is Sattva, harmony balancing. These are the psychological impediments encountered in the fulfillment of one's inner aspirations. Yes, generally the asterism produces harmony in relationships and leads to the individual towards their ultimate goal. But then this other tamasic, this inertia type quality, uh, it kind of slows down that possibility. Like a lethargy comes about. Okay. Once aroused into action, though, you can move ruthlessly. It's a long chapter. Before, oh my God. We're still going. He's really got a lot to say about people born under this star. So that's what I'm filtering out. Okay, last paragraph. Shakta Abhishek provides the impulse for the blossoming of our inner potential. That's lovely. In order to achieve this objective, there must be the blending of the individual consciousness with the universal. It leads to the experiencing of infinity, the illimitable. Illimitable. Okay. Such an achievement necessarily entails immense psychological expansion, sacrifice, and pain. In order to bear it, a butcher-like quality with demonic vigor is incalculated. Whew. There's really some words in here. Finally, the door of liberation is open with the full arousal of the Kundalini. Okay, what he's getting at is the alchemical process of the spiritual journey, right? That this is the like hardening of the whole thing into the diamond. So yes, there is pain, discomfort, and suffering along the way, and how you respond to those stimuli. If you embrace them, accept them, surrender to them, that will fuel and accelerate what's already being helped, which is your spiritual awakening and your healing. So this Varuna is the Lord of waters in a sense, like water is life kind of vibe. And so include water in your rituals. Like when you're taking your shower, turn it into that ritual of like, I am letting this water wash over me and all the surface areas of my body. And I'm inviting in this cleansing, healing, balancing energy. Like this is what is available. So I'm not quite speaking to the upcoming spiciness because this is really the initiation of this sweet, sweet moon. And we're going to get these nice kind of 2 weeks to be in this watery, nutrifying, cleansing, balancing, blossoming, your fountain-like fruition. Again, first couple of weeks of Ramadan, be in prayer, be in affirmation, be in connection with the divine. Use the tools that speak to you. Use your gifts. Be in the aesthetics. Be in the beauty of it all. And establish that. That's your ground you're gonna stand on when the spiciness shows up. And you'll be like, oh, right. Oh, this pain is about this healing. Let me let this go. Oh, this thing that's finishing. Oh, this thing that just like zoomed into my life. Like, wow, how interesting. And just know that that sphere of influence is actually quite a long time. How these eclipse energies play out. So Venus is going to be going retrograde in the next few. Mercury, I think Mercury's more like mid-month. Venus is a little bit sooner. Mercury's like mid-month all the way to, I want to say April 7th. I think Venus retrograde is until April 12th, something like that. And so um some of that, particularly the Venus retrograde, might have some implications in the collective. We're not like making the best choices at the moment. Our politicians, our governments, our economists and such, our business people, they really just are not making very best choices for humanity in mind, just really self-centered, greedy choices. So some of that Venus retrograde might ignite some of that. I'll use the word volatility, but instability is more like it. When we think volatility, we're thinking Mars. Our friend Mars is finally turned direct a little bit ago in sidereal Gemini and is gonna finish up in sidereal Gemini, which has been in forever. And then, kind of head on into the next. And so um Mars has been a culprit in the volatility, also the like Earth events, seismic events and all sorts of things, disastrous things, wildfires. So we like the idea of Mars moving it forward, moving it on. So some things hopefully are starting to feel like they're moving a little bit. Gemini, so a lot around speech and words and like this, So there's always elements in the cosmos that are supporting us and helping us. Right? And then, there's the ones that are like acting a fool and acting out. And then there's how that lands in your personal chart like this. So my best message right now is focus on what's positive right now. No need to approach the mid-month March events and onwards with a sense of dread, because the real remedy around all those things is actually celebration. And that's why we get the Festival of Colors, Holi, at the full moon, the next full moon. And then we get the goddess portal, Basantika, or the Chaitra Durga Puja, the Navaratri of spring. We get that from like the 30th of March to the 7th or 8th of April. You know, so there's a reason why the ancestors were like, oh, really volatile time, plug in celebration. Lightheartedness, that's different from let's get tanked, let's get absolutely, bonkers out of our minds, out of our awareness. That's real bad choice right now, like during these volatile times. But you will see that that is what many people will reach for. They will reach for alcohol, drugs, sex, food, Netflix. Like they will reach for those things. But if you want to be ready, you're going to use this new moon to plant your seeds of like, what do I need for my best healing? What does that support system look like? What's one thing that I can do right now? Not have to like wait for the opportunities, but what's a shift I can make right now? What's a practice I can include right now? And be in this because it really is truly so sweet. So I'm gonna pause here, and if there's any more that we'd like to talk about in our own lives, what we're